Hello from me, Fifi Peters, and welcome to MindSpace TV, where we enrich your thinking. In today's program, can one be both capitalist and environmentalist at once? We ask a fly farmer. If you want to play like a pro, you need to call in a pro. Finance 101. Free financial literacy education is at hand. And retirement and disability insurance made easy for small and medium enterprises. Our primary thought when it comes to flies is to swat it and kill it. But not Jason Drew, who is an agricultural engineer, a farmer of 8.5 billion writhing creatures, bred and reared for their hatchlings, the creamy yellow larvae commonly known as maggots. Jason joins us via Skype from London. Jason, thanks so much for your time. What gave rise to your understanding and appreciation of the fly?
I guess the fly is one of the most misappreciated creatures that we have around us. In nature, what they do is they break down waste. They fly over streams, get eaten by fish that leap out of the streams to grab them, or in a field when they're decomposing waste and, as you say, wriggling maggots, a passing bird will stop, peck the maggot, and fly on again. They're a fabulous source of protein for both fish and birds.
How should we look at flies?
With the new eyes, I think. They've been an important part of our past for the last 10,000 years as humans have settled around the planet, and they form a very important part of our future. They are the natural decomposers of waste. So what we do in a very simplest form in one of our factories is we have a large cage of flies. We extract the eggs and we grow those eggs on waste that comes from our cities. So we have two key advantages. One is we make protein out of waste. We recycle waste nutrients and put them back into the food chain, which is what happens in nature and happens in the wild. And we also prevent each factory we have over 90,000 tons a year of organic waste going into landfill. The last place we should put organic waste is into holes in the ground, because there it just creates methane and potentially pollutes the water table. We should recycle those nutrients, as has happened in nature for hundreds of millions of years.
And why is the larva so important?
Because they are a very concentrated form of protein. At the moment, our fish farms around the world, we extract millions of tons of fish from the sea each year, grind it into something called fish meal, and use that in our agricultural feeds. We compete with fish meal and make a very similar, more natural, and I would argue better product, and we do that from what we humans consider waste. We have created cities and we are creating waste on an unprecedented scale. We need to manage that waste. We need to use that waste. And we need to understand that there's no such thing as waste. There's just stuff in the wrong place.
When did you realize that you would abandon your financial or your career in financial development?
I think it was about 2008. I'd spent a lot of time studying food systems around the world and saw how destructive they were. I ended up at the back of a chicken production facility and saw a lake of blood and guts and surrounded by flies, and remembered that as a small child the best way to catch a fish was a fly on the end of a line or the maggot on the end of a hook. And that started me on a mission to make our food production more sustainable and to do so profitably. So we have now our first factories in Philippines, near Cape Town in the Western Cape. We are looking at other sites around South Africa, and we are also looking to build, within the next 12 months, sites in Asia and in America and in the Middle East. So from humble beginnings, we're now turning the fly into one of the solutions to drive a sustainable food solution for our planet.
And did your industrial revolution, did it fall into place at that moment?
No, we spent many years in abject failure. We couldn't make flies breed during winter, for example, despite getting all the other conditions right. We eventually found that it was a particular frequency of light that bends first over the surface of the Earth at dawn in the spring, whether that's in the southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere. And so that frequency of light causes mating amongst flies. So we were able then to bring all our flies into complete darkness, artificially controlled conditions, and we turn on the mating light. It's a bit like turning on the slow song at the end of the school disco, and the whole fly colony does what we want it to do, is reproduce and lay eggs.
And Jason, would you call yourself a capitalist or an environmentalist, or perhaps both?
I definitely view myself as an environmental capitalist. I'm a passionate environmentalist, and I'm passionate about business. And what I love doing is finding businesses that profitably repair our future.
And one last thing, can you tell us about Synergy, in which you have a stake?
Synergy is a fascinating business that's looking at a different way of tackling sanitation in informal settlements, particularly in Kenya. And it's an extremely good toilet system where toilets are delivered and operated by members of the community who charge people to use their toilets, and then the waste from those toilets is taken away from the informal settlements and recycled and reprocessed into electricity, into protein, and into compost.
And do you think that we understand our environment?
No. Somebody said, well, what do you think about artificial intelligence? And I said, we need it urgently because humanity has lost all its common sense, particularly when it relates to the environment.
And for you, what are the pillars to sustainability?
Now it's really about, are your goods and services centered around repairability, around durability of your products, about upgradability of your products rather than throwing away, upgrade your products. So repairability, durability, upgradability, shareability. You know, we're entering into a world where so many goods are shared. It's a much better way of doing things.
And how do you see us fixing the future?
I think everybody needs to get with the mission of repairing the world around us. The best people to deliver this change have to be businesses, because governments are slow to react, they're over-indebted and frightened to innovate. So we need to harness businesses in making a sustainable future for ourselves. The huge impact on plastic and reduction of plastics that ends up in our seas is being driven mostly by businesses, getting on the bandwagon, understanding that consumers understand we cannot continue to throw away the volumes of plastics we do. So there's huge solutions coming into our packaging world. There are huge changes in agriculture and in all the goods and services we consume. And partly that's driven by technology, and partly it's driven by businesses who understand that they can no longer meld the environment to their balance sheet. They have to fit in with nature, which is the overriding governance structure for business. If a business thinks it can just ride roughshod over nature, it will fail. It needs to work out how it can drive a sustainable solution and protect our environment for future generations. Otherwise, we will have no businesses and no future.
A pro coach's role is to ask powerful questions that will unleash creative juices. Even executives need coaching from time to time. Calling in the help of an executive coach is a powerful tool for on-the-job problem solving. My guest now is Dr. Jerry Gule from the Institute of People Management to tell us all about executive coaching and more. Jerry, thanks so much for your time. I mean, first of all, what does executive coaching entail?
Okay, thank you, Fifi. Yeah, executive coaching entails taking your client, who in this particular case could be a senior manager or an executive or even a board member, dealing specifically with the issues that they're facing. They may want to have a coach so as to bounce ideas, to deal with the challenges that they may be facing, so they deal with those issues with the coach. It's specifically on task. I mean, coaching, there's a specific task that the person or problem or challenge that the person may be facing, and they just need someone to guide them through. So the coach helps them to deal with those problems, those challenges.
It's so fascinating because one thinks of an executive and one thinks of why does an executive need coaching? I mean, why is it so crucial for managers at such a senior level to get guidance from outside?
As they say, it's colder up there at the top. So an executive may need, and sometimes it's difficult for people to accept that they're facing challenges, but when they know that they've a reliable, a confidential person that they can talk to about their challenges, without being judged, because that's the role that a coach would play. You are not there to judge the person, but you are there to explore with them what is possible, what is not possible, to challenge them sometimes when they are not really looking at themselves to see the blind spots that they may have. And you help them to see those things and then to develop skills and ways or tactics of how they can deal with that.
What's the difference between coaching and mentorship?
Very good question. The difference between coaching and mentorship is that the coach and the client, the person being coached in this instance, we are co-equals. There is no superior or inferior. Because in fact, the person who's being coached has all the answers in them. It's just making sure that you can explore with them what it is that they can do. Whereas in mentorship, you definitely have someone who's more experienced, who has walked the path, and the mentee, the person being mentored, is learning the ropes, does not have the experience, needs guidance. So the mentor then is able to point that person, to direct that person, to develop them. So you have that relationship of a superior and a person who's learning.
Oh, understood.
Yeah.
And then what are the key focus areas in coaching? And also, I mean, do they differ from industry to industry, or is it the same at general management level?
What may differ in terms of the coaching scenario is that the person that you coach has specific needs, requirements, or goals to achieve. So it starts with the client. You can't have a one-size-fits-all, really. Because it's need specific. So the person that you are coaching may have very direct requirements.
And the specific area of focus that a coach, tries to bring out from a person that they are coaching. What are they?
What you want to do is to help the person reach their highest potential, as it were. So it would again depend on what that person's real requirements are. You may be wanting, for instance, to develop a certain skill, a certain ability. I mean, I've been in coaching sessions where the person, all that they wanted was presentation skills, so that when they do their presentations to an audience, they're effective. So how do you go about doing that? So we needed to explore that, and it can't just be theoretical. So you help the person to do a presentation, to develop a presentation, to understand exactly what's the audience. So what tactics can you use in order to be able to create that rapport between yourself and the audience, and then the practice. So some of the sessions that we had, for instance, was to practice. So that's what you want to deal with. So it's different things really that you're trying to develop. Sometimes it's just emotional intelligence.
Does everyone need a coach? And if so, when should you actually embark on finding one?
I think I would say yes to that question, not because I'm a coach, but I think, I mean, even in my own experience, there have been times when I needed a coach. Again, it is task specific, all right? Unlike mentoring is developmental. Coaching is, there's a particular issue that you're dealing with or that you need to face, that you are facing, and you just need help to overcome that challenge. So it is time bound also. I mean, mentoring can tend to take a long time. Coaching is specific. It could be 6 sessions of coaching because we've now addressed the issue. It could be 12 sessions, but definitely you want to see movement. You want to see growth. You want to see the competency in that person manifesting itself. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time. We will leave it there. That was Jerry Gule from the Institute of People Management. Key principles of understanding good money management. Taking out retirement cover as an SME doesn't need to be expensive and time-consuming.